Hello everyone and welcome back to Trans Am for round 2 of season 5. Today we are at the Red Bull Ring and I'm very much looking forward to this race. Unfortunately on the day of the race I was actually a bit sick, so I wasn't feeling 100%, but we'll see how it goes regardless. Here are the championship points, by the way. After the first round, Jester leads the way with that triple star result, 35 points, 30 for Gren, who is not here for this round. Then it's Artsy, Bananado, Pete, Ferb, Sparrow, myself, J-Dog, who's also not here, and Ash. But while we are missing a few of our round 1 competitors, we have a bunch of newcomers and returning faces for this one. Heathy's back, and Matt is back, who we haven't seen since round 2 of season 1. And we've also got 4 new competitors, Ando, Slash, Volas and Geo, all competing in Trans Am for the first time, which gives us 14 cars on track, a record for the series here at the Red Bull Ring. So it's going to be an interesting race. We've got weather planned as well. We'll see if that eventuates, but for now we will focus on qualifying and my first flying lap of the day. Like I said, I'm not feeling 100%, so we'll see how this goes. Yeah, that is part of the reason this video has taken so long, while my voice was not fit for commentary, let's say, for a day or two. But anyway, let's see how this goes as we are coming around the final few corners. It's been a fairly tidy lap so far, so hopefully the lap time will be pretty good on our first flyer, taking a lot of the inside curb at the final corner. The car bounces slightly, but not too much, and that's always the risk with the curbs around here. But we finished the lap and it's a 34.8, and that is the best lap I've ever done. So yeah, that was pretty unexpected, and I actually couldn't improve on that throughout the rest of the session as it got a little bit darker later on. But yeah, we come around to finish off qualifying, and that's going to put us 8th on the grid out of 14. A few drivers still, or actually a lot of drivers not yet finished their final flying laps. Ando's got pole position for the moment though, so once again the Chevelle looking very quick here in round 2. We do eventually drop to P9 as Bolas improves up to 8th, so the two of us switch places late in qualifying. But yeah, still a very good qualifying session for me. I was not expecting to improve on my personal best, so yeah, very happy about that, and a decent enough grid slot for the race itself. So without further ado, let us get straight into it. My plan was actually to start on the medium compound tyres, and I forgot to change them between sessions, so yeah, compromise my strategy a little bit, but let's go through the grid. It's Ando on pole position. The newcomer starts from P1 on the hard compound tyres. Hards also for a lot of the field. Bananado and Ash, P2 and 3 on hard compound tyres. Then it's P4 for Artsy, first of the soft compound tyre runners. Then it's Jester in the Nova, starting out of P5 on hards. P6 for Slash in the SLR 5000 on the hards. Then it is Heafy out of P7 on the hards. P8 for Bolas, also on the hard compound tyres. P9 for myself on the softs. And once again we've got the Greek Olympians themed livery, Poseidon and Amita this time, as we start from 9th on the grid. P10 for Uncle Pete, starting on the hard compound tyres. P11 for Matt on the soft tyres, I believe. And then it's P12 for Ferbs on the hards. Geo starts on the medium compound tyres, and last on the grid is Sparrow. Those last 3 not setting times in qualifying. Sparrow on the hard compound tyres. So we're all set to go racing here. The largest field ever in Trans Am. 14 cars on the grid. But who will take victory here at the Red Bull Ring as we go to the 5 red lights. and we are underway for Trans Am Season 5 Round 2. It's a rocket ship launch from us on the soft compound tyres and in the Chevy Nova. Easily the fastest car off the grid, and we gained a couple of spots towards turn 1, taking it a little bit easy just to make sure we don't get into any trouble with everyone on different tyre compounds around us. And now we've got Slash coming up beside us as we race up towards turn 3, and Slash has easily gotten through there, burning the fuel early as we give Slash a bit of a bump. The Nova's quite good on the brakes, and it's quite easy to get caught out there. Not as good as Volas though, who was super late on the brakes into turn 3 there. We'll get the switchback though, get that power down, and use some of our 750 horsepower to get that position back. But yeah, we have made a fairly decent start, gained places, so that is all that matters. And we do need to get through this traffic, because with so many drivers on hards, we need clean air to make our strategy work and to make the most of these soft compound tyres. We've got Ash in front of us at the moment, so let's see if we can line up a move. You can see the traction difference we have here through the middle sector. As we now head through the final sector, we've got good drive here, and we might have a run and mash towards turn 9. Ash leaves the door wide open on the exit of turn 8, and we'll get the move done down the inside of Slash. Also goes for the move down the inside of Jester, and there's a bit of an awkward moment there as we were trying to get to the inside, but just a little bit too much understeer there to get there. But the successful and clean first lap, and we're ready to race on for the remainder of the 1 hour event. Right, so replay of the start then to see what happened at the front of the field, and it was a rocket ship launch from Artsy on those soft compound tyres. Sweeps around to take the lead, 3 spots before the first corner for Artsy, and then Ando was out high and wide. A little bit of contact with Bananotto through turn 1, but Bananotto takes the position as Ando is not quite done with this one yet, and will make that move in a straight line to get back through up into second position. But Artsy clear away on the soft compound tyres for now. A bit of wobble from Ando on the exit, trying to get that power down and trying to keep up with Artsy on those soft compound tyres. And tell you what, there's some pretty decent straight line speed out of that. Chevelle sweeps around to take the position from Artsy down the inside, and gets through to take the lead. So this is big for Artsy, who needs to have clean air again, like myself, on those soft compound tyres to make the strategy work. Artsy gets back through just with the better mid-corner speed there in the boss. So a close one there for Artsy, but manages to hold on to the race lead. Here's the onboard with Jester and the Nova, even on the hard tyres, not that much worse off than Artsy on the softs. So it is a very good car off the line. Jester down the inside and trying to make some moves into turn 1. Gets a pretty decent exit now to the right hand side of Bananotto, but not with the straight line speed there, as he gets a bit of a squeeze from Ando. 2 wheels on the grass there for Jester, but survives. And now Ash around the outside. Jester keeping that nose in on the inside though into turn 3, and should get that move done as Ash is a little bit out over that exit curb, but no harm done there. And yeah, a clean start for Jester. On board with Heafy, who got a pile of wheel spin and an awful start in the judge, and dropped quite a few spots there as Matt slides through and gets through there. So yeah, nice move there, but Heafy gets a nice little run through turn 1 to take that place back. Get some power down on the exit finally, and yeah, we'll carry some good straight line speed up towards turn 3 to hold on to that position. But yeah, it was a difficult start for Heafy, and here's the big dive from Volas. Might have missed the braking points a bit there, and it was a really awkward moment between Volas, myself and Heafy as we were all trying to switch back and get to the inside. And thankfully Heafy wasn't leaning on our car too hard, otherwise we could have had a bit of a double pit maneuver situation, which typically ends worse for the car in the middle. Here's the move from Volas though on board, and yeah, manages to get through without any significant contact, and we all sort ourselves out on the exit. So a little bit chaotic, but no harm done. Here's the onboard start with Uncle Pete, who also got a little bit of a slower start. First time we've seen the Mach 1 in a very long time, not since Daytona Season 2, Round 1. Yeah, it's been a long time for this car, and Uncle Pete keeps it nice and clean through Turn 1, and we'll race on up the hill to continue on the fight. But everyone, you know, a few moments of contact here and there, but for the most part everyone managed to get through cleanly. A nice little move to get to the inside of Matt there and get that move done to move up the place. Matt with some good power on the exit though, so some people prioritizing burning a little bit of fuel to gain track position at the start, while others are just full conserve, like myself. Not that really helps you too much in the Chevy Nova, but Uncle Pete just about squeezes back through on Matt, who's still looking to get that move done down the inside. So it's a great battle between these two. Remember, Matt's on the soft compound tyres, so like myself and RZ needs some clear space and doesn't need to be fighting with the hard compound tyre runners, and Matt gets through with the grip there. So yeah, nice move from Matt, and finally gets a little bit of clear space before the next car. But of course, with the race only having just started, there's going to be a lot of traffic for us in the early stages. On board with Gio, who jumped out of the grid box before the start, had to serve a penalty for that, and lost a lot of time, unfortunately, for Gio. But you can see already has gained the vast majority of that back towards Turn 1 with the way the field spreads out through the first corner. But as we continue on then, later in the lap with Gio already starting to make moves down the inside of Sparrow there, and Gio gets through. So plenty of speed in that car. Sparrow might have been thinking about heading into the pits there, but then missed it, or just had a bit of a moment, it's hard to say. But yeah, Sparrow taking an alternative line through the last couple of corners and adding an extra chicane. Anyway, Bananado's into the pits to get rid of the hard compound tyres, and it is the same strategy for Ferbs. Both of them are going on to the mediums for the next stint, and getting the worst tyres out of the way at the start of the race. Meanwhile, we go for the move down the inside of Jester, but we slowed down a little bit too much there, and that made things very awkward for us and for Ash as well, who had to take a little bit of evasive action around the outside as we now race uphill towards Turn 3. And yeah, that was a little bit of a frustrating moment. I needed to commit a little bit harder, but yeah, just didn't full send it enough there, and yeah, we end up getting stuck behind Jester for a little bit longer. But yeah, I was just too cautious on the brakes. I needed to go later, but anyway, ended up jumping over the inside curve to make sure we didn't have any contact there, and we race on. But now here through this middle sector is really where we're going to have the biggest advantage over Jester, who is of course on the hard compound tyres versus the softs on our car. So we need to get the move done. Potentially into Turn 9 will be the spot. I don't think we're going to be quite close enough here, but you can see how much we closed in that one corner alone. And we're going to get a nice run here. Jester's out a little bit wide. We'll get the power down nicely out of the left-hander, and we'll make the move around the outside of Turn 8. Jester gives us the room, and we move ourselves up another position into P4. So this has been a very nice start to this race for us. As further back in the pack, Gio is putting the pressure on Uncle Pete. A little bit of contact at Turn 1, I think, there, but Uncle Pete holds on to the position. Gio, though, with a ton of straight line speed and just blasts through on the straights. So Gio not afraid to burn the higher fuel mixers here and make things work that way, as Ash gets overtaken by Wallace there at Turn 4. Meanwhile, Matt is still fighting away further back in the field, but it's Gio who goes down the inside of Matt. So Gio making those medium compound tyres work, the only medium starter in this race, and yeah, absolutely roaring through the field at this stage, and might be on for another overtake here towards Turn 1, and is going to get that one done very easily there, clearing Heafy. Next up is Ash. Little look to the inside, but no move quite yet for Heafy, for Gio rather, as Heafy's in behind. and maybe uphill with the straight line speed for Gio. Getting through Ash gives Gio the outside line towards turn 3, clears Ash before the corner. So Gio is on an absolute tear at the moment, and firing up the order as Ash has a bit of a moment on the exit of turn 3. Should just about have enough to hold off Heafy though, and maintain that position. Meanwhile, further back in the field, we've got Sparrow making the move on Uncle Pete down the inside towards turn 1, gets the job done there, and moves up a position. So the positions are already out of whack with Ferbs and Bonanotto making lap 1 pit stops, so we'll just have to see where they filter in later on. But as we catch up to Slash dives off into the pits to get rid of the hard compound tyres, so that works well for us, and gives us a bunch of clean air to Ando and Artsy in front. But further back, a little bit more going on here, as there's a change for position. Gio down the inside and getting through on Wallace there. So Gio again climbing up the order as we see Slash come into the box, and just like Ferbs and Bonanotto, it is going to be the medium tyres for Slash there. Back on track and on board with Ash as Wallace goes for the move down the inside of Gio. A bit of contact as they continue to race on the exit. Ash gives Wallace the bump there to get clear of Gio now in the slipstream, trying to drag himself through as well, but Gio with a lot of straight line speed there to hold off Ash, and Gio takes the place back. So yeah, a little bit of an awkward situation at turn 1, but they sort themselves out. Let's see if Gio is going to be keen to get the position back. Ash with a good exit, but Gio with the straight line speed, and will make the move down the inside. Oh, a little bit of a bit of contact there on the way into turn 4, but Gio's through and does a nice job to cover off the switchback there. Nice move, and gets back through on Wallace, and ends up sorting out that little battle. Meanwhile, behind that, we had Matt going for the move down the inside of Heafy, and Matt gets through, putting those soft tyres to good use, and getting clear of Heafy. Sparrow looks like he might be in on the action as well. Sparrow down the inside of Heafy, and Heafy out a little bit wide, and we'll see. I think Sparrow's going to get through on the exit, and does so. Sparrow clear of Heafy now as well. The judge starting to fade already in this race, but let's see how that continues. Meanwhile, Matt makes the move around the outside of Ash there. That was nice, and yeah, you can see the grip advantage the soft tyres are giving as Matt's getting into a rhythm now. Ash and Wallace box to get rid of those hard compound tyres, and they will both also be moving on to the medium compound. So it seems to be a popular strategy to get those compounds out of the way as early as possible in this race, because everyone we've seen stop from the hard tyres so far has put those mediums on. Ash and Wallace do the same. Meanwhile, back out on circuit, Sparrow has to take a little bit of avoiding action in the braking zone there, not to run into the back of Matt, and that allows Heafy to get back up the inside and through on Sparrow on the exit there. So yeah, just a little bit late on the brakes there, I think, for Sparrow, as they all now race over towards turn 4 into the braking zone, and Sparrow late on the brakes again, almost drills the back of Heafy. So it's an adventurous couple of corners there for Sparrow, and yeah, we'll get things under control once more. But here's how close it got with Heafy into turn 4, and gets away with it. Gets a little bit of gravel on the tyres, but no harm done. And yeah, that was well, mightily close between those two, but no contact, or at least very minimal if there was. But anyway, Bonanotto starts working through the traffic, those who still run the hard compound tyres in this race. And of course, Bonanotto, having made that earlier stop, is starting to make progress through those towards the back of the field. Uncle Pete and Sparrow don't make things too difficult for Bonanotto to get through there, and Chevelle once again looking very strong here. And into the pits then it is for Jester. It'll be interesting to see how Jester goes in the Nova. It's not been a car used too often, so yeah, no, I'm very excited to see what he can do in that car. And it's a car I am very fond of, as he feeds into the box as well for a set of medium compound tyres. As through turn 1, Matt is putting the pressure on Gio. Matt on the softs, Gio on the mediums. And remember, we've seen Gio burning a lot of fuel throughout this race so far. And it looks like that might be continuing as they race up towards turn 3, because Matt was quite close through the apex to turn 1, but Gio getting away and maintaining that position. So yeah, we'll see how that strategy plays out, as Heafy has gained a bit of time on Jester through the pit stop cycle there, not taking a full refill. Opting for track position for this next stint, as we see Gio very wide through turn 4. I think pulling the handbrake there to get it turned. A lot of smoke coming off the front left tyre there, but manages to keep the position over Matt. But that was a massive moment. Here's the onboard with Gio, and I think just going a little bit too deep into the corner, and yeah, a nice save to keep it on track, and carries on. But an absolute smokescreen on the exit for Matt behind. But anyway, as we go back on board with myself, it's been a fairly quiet stint since Slash made that pit stop. We haven't had too much to do. Ando's got a lot of pace as we have a little bit of a moment through the final corner. But Ando has incredible pace on the hards, which is quite terrifying that he's as quick on the hards as I am on the softs. That is crazy. But Artsy still leads the way, and Ando is having a bit of a moment there. So Ando's definitely pushing, but is also burning a bit more fuel than Artsy at this stage of the race to put in these lap times and keep the pace up. So it's not all a true representation of performance. Because there's only so much you can do on hard compound tyres, as Matt continues to put the pressure on Gio at the first corner. Banana Notto is next in the queue, and first of those who have made pit stops in this race. That's Sparrow, still running the hards, I believe. Same with Uncle Pete, and Ferbs catching up to Uncle Pete. So yeah, those who have stopped are now having to work through the hard compound tyre runners, and it could potentially cost them a little bit of time. We'll see how it plays out. Ferbs getting held up by Uncle Pete at the moment, but should be able to get through at the next corner perhaps, and does so. Is already clear along the straight, so Ferbs through on Uncle Pete. Meanwhile, back on board with myself. Bit of a mistake, just missing the mark there in the final sector. So that was an annoying moment, and the only major mistake in this final stint that would have cost a couple of seconds. But no harm done. It's still been a pretty solid first stint in this race. We've been able to, for the most part, make the most of the clean air as Matt gets through on Gio, and a little bit of contact on the exit as Matt tried to swing across on the racing line. Gio has still had a little bit of overlap, but no harm done. Matt's through, and still putting those soft tyres to good use as Wallace goes for the move up the inside of Slash. Slash with the switchback though. And this battle is going to continue on, I think, as Wallace is pretty keen on getting this move done. Slash covering the inside line, but Wallace taking the outside with the extra power and getting through. So nice move on the straight and a little bit deep, but should be able to hold on to this one. Slash still fighting it actually, as they're going to continue to run side by side towards turn 6, and Wallace holds on to the position and finally gets that one covered off ahead of Slash. Into the pits then, for the first time comes Uncle Pete. A relatively long stint on those hard compound tyres, but that could save Uncle Pete a pit stop later on in the race. Same strategy for Ando though, who's put in a very, very good stint on those hards, but we'll have a bit of a longer refill with the fuel burning away in that car, as we see Matt coming through in a big moment there as Matt heads into the pit lane, and a bit of a spin into the wall, but manages to save it without losing too much time. And if you're going to damage the car, it's the best time to do it. But Gio is in the box as well. Gio managed to slip through on the way in there as Matt was having that moment. Matt goes on to the hard compound tyres. Gio moves on to the softs for the next stint, and will save the hards for a later time. Remember, those two among the only other drivers not to start on the hards, aside from myself and Artsy. But anyway, as we watch this battle play out, we've got Ash in behind Slash and Wallace, both cars in front picking up penalties. Ash gets the move done on Slash through turn 1 and gets clear, moves up another position and into P7 currently. Back on board with myself, and you can see it's getting a bit darker, and you'll soon see the issue with the Chevy Nova in night races is that the headlights on this car are absolutely dreadful. And anyway, we'll have to deal with that throughout the night. But we're going to get our hard stint out the way next, as we look back to Matt, who short-fielded a little bit in that stop to get ahead of Gio, but drops off the lead lap with Artsy getting through there. But yeah, that has been a change of position between those two in the pit lane. Gio though, with the soft compound tyres on, might be able to get back through anyway, and with a bit of extra fuel in the car. As we continue on though, Sparrow doesn't make things too difficult for Ferbs, and Sparrow actually comes into the pits there, so a change of position briefly before Sparrow dives it into the pits, as Wallace serves a penalty, and Ash manages to get through in that moment. So yeah, positions changing all over the place here as we head into our pit box, and we'll get that set of hard compound tyres on. And I'm going to do a very short pit stop here and put in just over a lap of fuel to make sure we can get around and just get this one singular lap on the hard compound tyres out of the way. They work for some people, but they don't work for me, especially as it's getting dark and out the colder conditions. I've never particularly enjoyed the hard compound, so we're going to minimise our time on those tyres. Sparrow into the pits though, and Sparrow moves on to that medium compound that's been so popular early in this race. Meanwhile, Matt is way off the road there at turn 9. That allows Gio through, and Matt drops the position there down into last on track. But we'll carry on those hard compound tyres. It's a tough compound to get going, so yeah, I'm surprised we didn't see more of that on the hards, to be honest. But Artsy makes a pit stop, moves on to another set of the soft compound tyres, so really trying to get away early in this race, as Gio is off at turn 1, but carries on. Not too much time lost there for Gio, but Matt is back into the fight. But Gio, I think, should be able to hold on with that straight line speed, and will do so. Back on board with myself though, and we do have Ash catching up to us, but it doesn't really matter too much because we're going to be boxing on this lap to part ways with the hard compound tyres. We've survived the lap, and that's all we really need to do. That was a little bit deep into pit lane, but I think we're okay. I don't think we crossed that pit entry line, but that's it's a tough pit entry to begin with. We're going on to another set of the soft compound tyres, but to do that pit entry on hards is very tricky to get that right, as we see a change for position as Artsy makes the move on Ferbs and moves up into P2. That's Artsy on pit exit getting that move done. as Ferbs has already made a stop in this race, but won't have as much fuel on board as Nazi, who's just come freshly out of the pit lane. We get our next set of soft compound tyres on. I'm going to save the mediums to the end, especially because we are predicting rain quite soon in this race, as there's a little bit of a touch there, I think, between Slash and Volas there. But the battle will continue on as they work their way up the hill towards turn 3, and this time it is Slash with the straight line speed, but here comes Ando down the inside, a double move into turn 3, and a beautiful overtake there by Ando to get the job done. And here comes Slash on the exit with great drive traction, a really nice line through turn 3 to carry the speed, and might be able to get through on Wallace here. It's going to be an outside move into turn 4 to get it done, and Slash will get through. Wallace drops in behind, so beautiful driving there from Slash to make that work. And here we go on board, and that was the initial move. So that was a little bit late to make the move there, as Wallace gets all kinds of sideways getting back onto the circuit. But the battle, of course, continued on. Anyway, back to myself as we've finally topped up on fuel, and we're ready for our next stint into the darkness. And as you can see, there is weather on the radar, so it's just hanging around at the moment, nothing threatening the circuit immediately, but it is there, and it is something we do need to keep an eye on. Meanwhile, we've got Ando going for the move down the inside of Ash, gets through before turn 1, and gets back on the racing line. Nice move, and continues to show some great speed now on the medium compound tyres. Back to myself, we're in last position at the moment, having made our latest pit stop, and there's Bananato not too far behind us, so we're not far from losing the lead lap here, but of course we have a lot more fuel in the tank than Bananato, so again, strategy very difficult to track exactly where everyone is, but the rain is starting to come down in the race now, and that is Wallace the first to jump into the pits and move on to the soft compound tyres, which are definitely, with no shadow of a doubt, the preferred compound. So, yeah, most of us will be diving in very soon to get rid of the mediums and onto the softs. We've just done that, or in our case, we're coming off the hard compound tyres, which we're only ever going to do one lap on anyway. But a flurry of action in pit lane, with so many drivers switching to the preferred compound in the rain. We've had Volas in the pits, we've had Matt in the pits, as well as Sparrow, Bananato, all boxing for the soft compound tyres, as well as Ferbs, Ash, Jester in the pits now as well. So there is pit stops are plenty. Here comes Heafy into the box, also putting the soft compound tyres on, so everyone knows what to do in this situation. Uncle Pete, after that medium sin, also coming in for the soft compound tyres, and we can finally look back out on circuit to follow the action as Ando on the medium spins into the wall, and that is exactly why you saw everyone diving in for the softs. The mediums just don't have the grip, and Ando finds that out the hard way. And yeah, we'll have to limp the car back to pit lane. Not too much damage, though. That was Sparrow going through, not for position. Sparrow was a lap down on Ando before that moment. And oh, Ando deep into turn 4 as well. So the struggles continue for Ando, who was looking very strong in this race, but has had a few little moments as the rain's coming down. I'm sure Ando will be boxing for the softs very soon. On the other hand, Gio goes in the complete opposite direction and puts the hard compound tyres on in that stop. So interesting strategy there, as we see Ash has jumped Ferbs in the pit lane, but for the most part everyone maintained their position. But Gio comes out of the pits racing with Volos, and you can see no grip on those hard compound tyres, and a little bit of a moment just on the straight there. So yeah, I don't think that hard tyre philosophy is going to work for Geo, and oh, that's a big off as well. So yeah, you really want to be on the softs in these conditions. It's showing with Ando having a few moments on the mediums, and Geo really struggling on the hards, and has really only navigated one corner so far. But here's the moment on the straight, and yeah, had the thing pointing in all directions as Geo tried to put the power down. There was just no grip, and the conditions are only going to get worse. So yeah, it's a very tough phase of the race as we see Ando come into the pits, and it's going to be a set of the soft compound tyres, of course, for Ando. Slash comes in as well, so a few drivers did try to stick it out a little bit longer on the medium compound, but eventually everyone diving in for those softs. It's just what you need to do at this stage of the race. But Bonanotto goes for a big spin though, and for someone who was you know, the leader of the early stopper strategy, that's big, and drops a couple of spots there with Ash and Ferbs going through. And yeah, Bonanotto losing a lot of time with that spin, and it was just there's such fine margins between, you know, when you do have traction and when you don't. Ferbs doing a nice dodge there to get around, but yeah, there is so little margin for error on throttle, especially for particular cars, and Bonanotto finding some trouble there at turns 4 and 5. Meanwhile, as we continue to race on back on board with myself, we're under a little bit of pressure at the moment. We do have Volos making the move down the inside, and we've had a few good battles with Volos throughout practice for this race, so this could get interesting. Volos though making that move to the inside. We'll try and switch it back just like we did on lap 1, and we'll be able to get the drive traction on the exit and get back through on Volos. We are getting blue flagged as well because we do have Artsy behind us, so we can't battle away too hard here. But what makes this situation a bit awkward is that both myself and Volos have very good straight line speed, and Artsy really doesn't in that car. And so whenever we're on the straights, as Heafy's off the road there, facing in the wrong direction. But yeah, that gives us that position as Volos back down the inside and gets through and makes that move. We're still trying to fight it around the outside. And oh wow, the rain is very much intensifying. It's now absolutely pouring down here as we enter the final sector. Volos is through, and we slot in behind once more. But what I was getting at as Volos throws the defense is that because myself and Volos have great straight line speed, whenever we're on the straights, Artsy's nowhere near us. So it does make the blue flag situation a little bit trickier, even though Artsy's lap speed is better overall. Through the final corner we come then, and looks like we've got a nice exit here. And the other part of it is that neither of us want to give up this battle as Bonanotto drops out of the race. We make the move down the inside of Volos there into turn 1 and get that done. Oh, we've got a hit from behind though into a slide, a spin, and we get straightened up there on the exit, and we continue to race on as we're now side by side with Artsy up the hill, and we'll actually be able to, with the straight line speed, stay ahead. And I'm absolutely kicking myself for that. I didn't actually realize it was Artsy behind me. At the time, all I saw was the headlights, and I just assumed it was still Volos trying to get the move done. So yeah, I'm frustrated by that one. If I knew that was Artsy trying to get through, I would have definitely just lifted off and slotted in behind. So yeah, I'm frustrated with myself for that, and unfortunately the battling got all a bit too much at turn 4. We threw it away, and Artsy gets through on Volos as well, who gets a little bit off circuit, and we're still not far behind, so this battle might yet continue. But here's the onboard then with Volas towards turn 1, and you can see just later on the brakes and able to get the move done. A little bit of contact, but not too much. I think it was actually contact from Artie that tipped us into a spin, and Volas actually straightened us up there on the exit and allowed us to continue on. But yeah, that all got a bit too awkward. We should have, both of us should have let Artie go much sooner. But anyway, what's done is done, and yeah, that's just how that one goes. But yeah, you can see the straight line speed difference because Artie got a way better exit, of course, because we entered the next straight sideways, and we were able to just blaze on through. And yeah, that's yeah, a frustrating one. But anyway, eventually, of course, as we saw, Artsy got through, so we'll see exactly how that played out. Artsy just sitting in the slipstream on the straight for the time being. So how did Artsy make the move on Volas from a long way back? We'll see exactly what happened. Volas just wide of the apex. Artsy threw it in. Beautiful move. And manages to get through with a nice slide through turn 4. And Artsy finally has some clean air. There was no damage from any of that contact, so we're all going to race on. But yeah, we probably all cost Artsy and each other a bit of unnecessary time there. Meanwhile, there was a lot of other stuff going on while we were having that fight, so let's rewind time a little bit and see what else was going on track. Slash makes the move on Jester at turn 3 and should be able to get that move done. Jester with some decent drive traction on the exit though, and oh, that's Bananotto going slowly on the edge of the road there, so we'll have to take a look at that as well. But Slash does eventually get the move done on Jester into turn 4. Jester having a bit of a moment there, but Slash gets through and moves up in a position. But what was going on with Bananotto, that can wait for a moment as we see Geo boxing to finally get rid of those hard compound tyres, moving on to the softs and falling into line with everyone else for Geo. We saw Heafy pointing in the wrong direction, so we'll see what happened with Heafy. Oh wow, a very late spin there. It was just more putting the power on, not so much spinning through the corner itself, and got very close with Artsy as he rejoined. So yeah, that was a weird one. Bananotto, I think, was having some steering wheel issues, and just as the rain was really starting to intensify, Bananotto disappeared from existence, and yeah, had to retire from the race as the battle between myself and Wallace and Artsy rather was going on there. Heafy found the wall again though towards turn 4 and actually damaged the front left corner of the car there in that moment, and with another venture into the gravel trap, drops in behind Uncle Pete there. So yeah, the struggles continue for Heafy in this race as we continue to race on board with myself. Battle with Volas kind of fizzled out a little bit. Volas caught up to us, so he's definitely got better pace, but while we were fighting, I was able to pick better lines and keep the fight going. But yeah, now that there's a bit of an air gap between us, yeah, there's not too much fighting going on now. Meanwhile, the battle between Heafy and Uncle Pete is set to continue, I think. Heafy not giving this one up just yet, and Pete through turn 3 running out a little bit wide, and that's just enough incentive for Heafy to try and get the nose in up the inside. Uncle Pete holding on for the moment, but Heafy with a lot of straight line speed there will make that move on Uncle Pete and get through at turn 4. Heafy through and moving up into 9th position ahead of Uncle Pete, and this fight might still continue as Uncle Pete's trying to navigate the switchback there and to the outside of turn 6 is gonna chuck it in, and with some good grip through the corner might have a chance to get this done. Does so, and Uncle Pete an outside move to hold on to position ahead of Heafy, so beautiful driving there, and will maintain 9th for a little bit longer yet. Heafy though is absolutely not done with this battle, and will try again along the pit straight to get that move done, and gets back ahead of Uncle Pete into turn 1. So certainly Heafy maybe burning a bit of fuel to get the straight line speed there, but determined to hold on to this position, and choosing to spend that fuel as the battles continue on in this race. And an awkward moment there as Heafy gave Pete a little bit of a squeeze into turn 3. That's going to allow Sparrow to get in on the action, and Sparrow gets through on Uncle Pete on the exits. So bit of an awkward moment there, but Sparrow taking full advantage of that, and moving up into the top 10. Back on board with myself as we continue to push on in this race. Been relatively quiet since the battle we had earlier on, and now we're going to head into the pits to discard this set of soft compound tyres. They're starting to wear a little bit, but mostly we are running out of fuel, and we need to box for top up on fuel. So with 23 minutes left in the race, we can't get to the end from here. This car's basically perfect for 15-minute stints. So yeah, we're gonna still need to use the medium compound tires anyway, so we're gonna go into the softs. We'll just run as long as we can, and when the fuel runs out in this stint, we'll go into the mediums for the last 8 minutes or so of the race. But yeah, that is the plan for the time being. Into the pits as well comes Geo, who's just taking fuel. Obviously didn't spend as long on those softs as everyone else, so just fuel going on for Geo, as Slash finds the exit runoff at turn 1. Jester gets through, and this battle continues on between these two, so yeah, we'll see how that plays out later on. But anyway, let's go back to pit lane with Artsy, who's putting on the medium compound tyres for the next stint in this race. And Artsy comes out of pit lane in 3rd position, just ahead of Ferbs. So Artsy still running in the podium places in this one, and with Jester down the order, could be looking in a decent position in the championship with Bananotto out of this race as well. Well, I say down the order, Jester's just in the background behind Ferbs, but obviously with Artsy making a pit stop, has more fuel on board at the moment and is in a much better position. Into the pits there for Ando, who puts another set of the medium compound tyres on to take those to the end of the race, not trusting in the tyre life on the softs to get the job done there, as we just saw Ferbs giving up a place to Jester, and then they both come into the pits. So yeah, I think that was Ferbs trying to do the right thing, but yeah, funnily enough, they both box on the same lap there, as we see Ash also cycling through the pit lane, and it is going to be soft tyres for Ash, Jester into the box as well, soft tyres going on for Jester, and the same for Ferbs, all going on to the soft compound tyres. And would you look at that, Ferbs is actually going to jump Jester in the pit lane. So yeah, that was all for naught, I suppose, but with the Chevy Nova taking on as much fuel as it needs, it's always going to have longer pit stops. No tyre change for Volis, choosing to stick with current tyres and just refueling to the end. And it is a tyre change, of course, for Sparrow, who goes on to another set of softs. I believe Volis was also on soft compound tyres. We've also got Matt into the pits, and it is the mediums going on for Matt. And yeah, I think yeah, I believe Matt was yet to use those tyres, so I think that makes sense. Slash onto the soft compound tyres as well, and Heafy moving on to another set of the softs. Uncle Pete in as well, as we've got another flurry of action through the pit lane. Pete moves on to the soft compound tyres for the rest of the race. Right, back with Heafy, who currently runs in 9th position. What's going on here? A little bit deep into turn 4, and another spin for Heafy. It's been a troubled race for Heafy, who will drop down the order now into P11. So a couple of places lost there for Heafy, but we'll carry on soon enough. Here's the onboard then to see where it all went wrong. Carrying too much speed in, and just couldn't get it stopped. Full 360, or most of a 360, and maybe about a 310 or so, and gets going once more. But yeah, loses a few places in that moment, unfortunately, for Heafy. Let's check back in on this battle that's really been going on all race between Matt and Geo, and Matt running out a bit wide on the exit curb, and a big slide and a spin for Geo in the background. They're both into the pit wall, and a big crash for both Matt and Geo, fighting over P12 in this race. Geo stays out of pit lane. Matt, I think, will have no choice but to cycle through the lane. But here's another replay from a different angle, and both of them spinning on the turn 9 exit curb, and yeah, just the wet curbs at this stage of the race, catching them both out there, and Geo with a bit of teleporting action towards the start line there. John Teeter's here in spirit, it seems. Where is John Teeter? We've been missing him the whole season so far. Here's on board with Matt, who's found the barrier there. And somehow Matt got no damage from that crash. That was a hard hit into the wall. So Matt, very lucky to get away with no damage, but will get a pit penalty for cutting the pit entry line, funnily enough. But no tyres for Matt, just topping up on fuel. And here's the onboard with Geo, and just, yeah, followed Matt wide out of the corner, and made exactly the same mistake. So yeah, unfortunate for those two, as they were fighting over P12. But anyway, they will carry that fight on, I'm sure, as Uncle Pete drifts it into turn 2. Meanwhile, as we continue on, Sparrow makes a move, a nice dive down the inside. Look at those brake discs glowing, and Sparrow, a beautiful move, and gets through on myself, and Sparrow up into 8th position in this race. We drop down into P9 as we watch on with Slash, who's putting the pressure on Jester. So this is a nice battle that has been developing in the latter stages of this race. Slash gets through down the inside towards turn 1, and Jester can't do anything about that at the moment. Slash up into P5. A very solid first race for Slash so far, as Geo comes into the pits to get that damage repaired, and it's going to be soft tyres for Geo as we go back on board with myself, and we have some headlights approaching from behind. It's Uncle Pete who's putting the pressure on now, and gets through turn 5. We're not fighting that one too hard because we are coming into the pits very soon. It's towards the end of our stint. The track's very much drying out now, and it's not good for our soft compound tyres, I do have to say. Meanwhile, the battle continues between Jester and Slash into turn 3. Slash goes deep, and Jester manages to slip through. Then lets Slash back past, and we'll see exactly why. Jester was very close, tucked in behind Slash, and gives Slash a little bump draft, but that was right before the braking zone, about a second or two before the braking point. So maybe a little bit too late to be doing that on the straight. I mean, the time gain, if anything, from that would be so minuscule versus, you know, the risk of that happening. So, yeah, just an unfortunate little moment there, but they'll race on, and they sort themselves out on the exit, so no harm done as we come into the pits and get our final stop out of the way. It's of course going to be our medium stint. We left this to the end just to try and minimize it as much as possible. Wallace is into the pits as well, and it's the soft tyres for Wallace, and you know, you can see the speed difference that Wallace has had over us in this phase of the race has just been better in the drying conditions. It's typically where I've always struggled the most, and yeah, it's the same here. So things have fallen away from us a bit in that stint as we go back to Jester making his way through the final corner, and a spin for Jester out of the final corner, a full 360, and it continues on, and that's just a really awkward spin. Was so close to saving it, but didn't quite work. Now has to do the 3-point turn of shame to carry on. Not even the flick spin quite worked there. Here's the onboard then, and we'll see exactly what happened out on the wet curb. And yeah, no traction out there, and just got caught on the edge of the wet line. I think that's what did it, and why the car continued to spin after he, for the most part, saved it. And then, yeah, a painful 3-point turn to get going again. That's just the worst. But Jester will carry on, and we'll continue on in P6 in this race. We get our fuel, or we get enough fuel to get to the end of the race. And yeah, we'll carry on in P11 in this race. So yeah, I was honestly hoping for a little bit more. The pace was good at the start in that soft tyre stint, but looks like this is where we are in this race. Jester catches up to us, and he decides to give us a bit of a hard time instead of just blazing on through. We're on medium tyres, Jester on soft, so he's got monster pace in comparison, but yeah, he's just going to sit behind for a bit. Even, you know, we ran wide out of the final corner. I was very cautious on the throttle, knowing what happened to Jester at that part of the circuit, but no, Jester still stays in behind us, and yeah, the battles on the horns continue down the straight as we're just gonna continue pushing on. Again, probably getting a few blue flag penalties if such a thing existed in Gran Turismo. Thankfully they don't. But yeah, this is just Jester having a bit of fun towards the end of the race. Neither of us have anything to fight for. We're in like a 80 seconds plus bubble between the car in front and the car behind. Jester goes through as we go a bit deep into turn 3, but there's almost a lap between the car in front and the car behind. So we're fighting for nothing at this point, and Jester's in a similar situation with a massive gap both in front and behind. But anyway, back with Matt, who loops it at turn 3, and that got a bit close with Uncle Pete there, but no harm done. And yeah, Matt loses a bit of time there, but still maintains P12 ahead of Gio for the time being, as we go back to Heafy, who finds a little bit more trouble at turn 4, and again a 180 spin there, so an awkward moment for Heafy, who drops a little bit further back. Meanwhile, on board with Matt at the same corner, Heafy off the road gets the spin, and Heafy and Matt a half spin at the same time, so synchronized spinning there for Heafy and Matt is the onboard with Wallace, who had a good view of both of those, and Wallace was actually having a little bit of a moment himself at that part of the circuit, but gets through on the two of them. Matt a bit further back, a lap down I think on those two, but anyway, Gio going deep into turn 3, so a lot of people struggling for grip at this phase of the race, and when you find the wet patches on the circuit at the wrong moment, it can very easily send you a long way off the road. As we go back to Matt, running P12 at the moment, and still pushing on. And a big moment there for Matt. Sparks off the wall, and backwards off the road goes Matt at turn 6. And that is going to cost a lot of time. And here comes Gio through to take 12th position away, and the battle for last ends in disaster for Matt. And oh wow, look at the complete lack of traction off the road. Wow, that is horrible. That's a lot of time lost there for Matt. No traction off the road there, and the recovery process, a very lengthy one that far off the road. Meanwhile, Artsy's in for the hard compound tyres, and will box from the race lead, but drops into 3rd position in the pit box there. Takes on a bit of fuel to get to the end of the race as well. But we're basically at the end of the race now, as Ash goes a little bit deep there at turn 3, passing Uncle Pete. But out in front, well, not out in front, but at the checkered flag, the first to cross the line will be Slash, who locks in 5th position with the 1 hour time limit in this race. It's not always the race winner who crosses the line first, so yeah, a bit of an unusual situation at the checkered flag here. But Matt, with an off at the final couple of corners, will take P13. So a tough day for Matt, but respect to get to the end after a troubled day. Jester takes P6 and slows it right down over the line. We'll come across the line to take P11, and we give Jester a whack after the line there. But yeah, that's not too bad of a result. You know, with the pace I had, I think that's really all I could have done. But let us focus on this. We haven't really seen too much of Ando throughout this race. Aside from those couple of incidents in the rain, it's been a very clean affair. And it's going to be P1 on debut for Ando. Race victory and a triple star as Sparrow takes P7 just tucked in behind there. Ash takes P2 across the line. And it's going to be Pete in 8th position. Volas takes P9. A little bit further back, Artsy will round off the podium, and the only non-Chevelle on the podium here today. It's proving a very, very good car this season is that Chevelle. Gio takes P12, and after the troubles Gio's had, that's a respectable result, as Heafy is in a bit of trouble. Ferbs takes P4 as well. Almost missed that one. But yeah, Heafy has run out of fuel on the final lap. Unfortunately, we didn't actually get to start the final lap of the race. So yeah, well, we didn't get to start the lap that Heafy's on. Otherwise, we might have had a chance of taking that position. But Heafy takes P10, the last car to cross the line. But yeah, that has been a very chaotic race at the Red Bull Ring. I loved every second of that race. That was just so much fun. Battling with Volas halfway through the race as well was really cool. That fight, it lasted a lap and a half, 2 laps, but honestly it felt like that fight went on for half an hour. That was just awesome fun. Unfortunate for Bananotto. The DNF there would have been interesting to see how that early stop strategy would have played out otherwise, but anyway, it is what it is. But a triple star for Ando on debut. What a performance. That is awesome. But yeah, what else is there to say? Let us take a look at the championship points. Jester leads the point standings on 67 points, just 1 point ahead of Artsy, who sits in 2nd position. Ferbs a little bit further back, 48 points for Ferbs, scoring a nice P4 here today. Then it's Ash, recovering after a difficult start to the season with P2 here. 44 points in the bank for Ash, 42 points for Uncle Pete. 40 points for Sparrow. Ando, already quite high up the order with the triple star, 35 points. 32 points for Bernardo with the lowest single points haul in Trans Am history. Of course, with the largest field, someone is going to have to live with that stat. It was Heafy ever since Northern Isle, but now Bernardo scores just 6 points in this round. Grenster, still in a good position, tied with myself on 30 points. Here's the fastest lap of the race then, and it went to Ando, of course, on lap number 20, actually in darkness, and in some somewhat wet conditions, so that's pretty impressive for Ando to get the fastest lap of the race done at this stage, but yeah, managed to do it. So yeah, we'll continue to watch on with this, but what else have we got in terms of stats at the end of this episode? The Mustang Boss notches up 60 race entries in total across all 5 seasons, so that's pretty crazy. It's the single most driven car in the series. The Chevelle doubles the majority of its statistics in this race, including entries, wins, podiums, and fastest laps. It is the first Mach 1 entry in a race at the hands of Uncle Pete. Like I said, hadn't seen that since Daytona Season 1. And the judge has now entered 10 times in races, so a few milestones for some cars in this race. But yeah, that is going to do it for this one, so I will say thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. I really do appreciate it. Please feel free to give me some feedback in the comments, it's always very helpful. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.
take the lead.